Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Cynthia. You guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't even know how to start this episode because I am sure, as probably everybody in the world has heard of the tragic news, unless you live under a rock, of the terrible passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter and the other 7 passengers that were in the fatal helicopter crash that happened on Sunday. It is just horrid. It's a nightmare. I can't even imagine what his family and every other loved ones are going through. It really, it's unbelievable. It's heartbreaking. I don't think I fully digest what has happened. And so that's why I feel like I'm kind of like a little bit in a somber mood, just because I'm like, wow, like you really need to just appreciate the ones that you have in your life right now and live in the now and just hold on to your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Don't ever let that, let a petty argument get to you. Yeah, it's a lot of things on my mind. So that's why I feel I'm going to try to keep this podcast as organized as I can, but really what's going on in my mind right now. See, I can't even talk right now. Really, everything that's going on in my mind right now, it's kind of all jumbled. I'm a mix of emotions. Also because I was at the LA Fit Expo over the weekend. So for those of you who are not familiar with what a Fit Expo is, it's a family-friendly event that takes place every year in various cities throughout the U.S. I know the ones that take place here in California are in L.A., San Diego, Anaheim, and San Jose. Those are like the major ones. And this event unites thousands of fitness enthusiasts such as myself, ranging from bodybuilders, powerlifters to jiu-jitsu and karate participants, personal trainers, group exercise instructors, competitive athletes, and so many more. Like so many different types of people who are involved in fitness and in health go to this expo. And I am lucky enough that I got to not just meet one of my fitness celebrities and influencers, but I got to work alongside her and her brand. So it was a really great experience for me. I've never been to an expo before, and I got to go and work at a booth with a team that I love and a product that I love. So it was an amazing experience, and you can discover like new health and wellness products there and services. You have access to free fitness classes, cooking demos. You witness like live fitness competitions. So it's like a really cool event. Let me know in the comments if any of you have gone to a Fit Expo. There's my first one in LA at the LA Convention Center, and it was really awesome. Amazing networking experience. I met so many great people, and I'm grateful for it all. However, also at the LA Fit Expo, that's also when I found out of the terrible news of Kobe Bryant. I was there at the booth working, and I noticed that a lot of people, more than usual, like I understand we're in LA, but this was quite a lot of people who were wearing Kobe Bryant's jersey, and I was confused. I was like, why is everyone wearing his jersey? And then I overheard someone say like, oh, Kobe Bryant passed away. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean Kobe Bryant? Like, I watched him play, growing up. I watched him play on TV. Like, what do you mean? I could not believe it. And then I go to my phone and I see that my boyfriend texted me, my mom texted me, my friends texted me in a group message, and all like asking me and talking about the incident. And I was just so thrown off. It switched my mood entirely, completely. I was just like frozen. My heart sank. My heart dropped. This is unbelievable, heartbreaking, tragic. And not only that, but also his 13-year-old daughter, Gigi Bryant, passed away with him in this tragic, horrific accident. So, yeah. My mind is everywhere. I couldn't even like focus at the expo. So that's why I was kind of a mix of emotions. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the LA Convention Center or its location, the LA Convention Center is right next, like I literally mean right next to Staples Center, which is like Kobe's home. He built that place. That's where millions of fans watched him play and admired him, and he inspired so many people in that arena. And I mean, I was there when I was in LA. I'm at Staples Center where his home was. The Grammys was happening right next to me, and right outside the Staples Center, they were having a memorial service for Kobe Bryant. So right after the Fit Expo, I went over, paid my respects, went to the memorial service. It was a really like twisted, weird mood I was in. It's like, okay, I was happy. I did something that was on my bucket list. I went to a Fit Expo, but not only did I go, I worked, and again worked alongside my favorite fitness influencer. But it was also like, I can't even be happy about that because I'm finding out about this horrific news of Kobe Bryant and this terrible helicopter crash. So I was a mix of emotions, and that's why I'm like still kind of letting it sink in. And that's why I feel like I'm in this weird like tangle mood today, because I'm trying to be happy. I don't want to be sad, obviously. Like, who wants to listen to a sad person on a podcast? But yeah, that's definitely my mind. And I just like keep scrolling through Instagram. That's like, he's posted everywhere, of course. So this episode, I do want to dedicate it to him and his family. And I just want to wish all the strength to his wife, Vanessa Bryant, and his daughters and all his loved ones. Yeah, it's crazy. It's a lot of crazy things happening in our world. And that was just a lot of things happening in LA, the expo, the Grammys, the memorial service, all in one block. Like, insane. So many people. I didn't even know what to do with myself. But anyways, that's how my weekend was. I hope you all had, besides the terrible news that we all had of Kobe Bryant, besides that, I hope you all had a productive, great weekend. I'm here to talk about something, an outbreak. I'm sure you guys can tell by the title of today's podcast. It's been all over the news. It's been trending on Twitter. It's been trending on Yahoo Mail. People are freaking out. They're like, what the heck is this? What's going around? I mean, it's always scary when like a new disease or virus, that's causing deaths is going around, and not even just going around like, in one country, but it's now spreading globally, worldwide. So it's definitely, it could be frightening, but that's why I'm here to kind of shed more light onto it. I'm going to first share with you guys about coronaviruses. There are multiple that have appeared in our history. The one I'm going to be specifically talking about today is what the news is covering, the Wuhan coronavirus. And then at the very end, last segment, I'll share with you guys some preventative methods that experts have shared with the public on how to take extra steps to, prevent from being in contact with this disease. So for those of you who are not aware, coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as the Middle East respiratory syndrome and severe acute respiratory syndrome. Common signs of this infection include respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, which is occurring right now globally, especially in China, is the infection can cause pneumonia, kidney failure, and even death. And there's been reporting amounts. It keeps increasing the amount of deaths that have been occurring since December of 2019. And there's a new outbreak, and again, it's called Wuhan coronavirus, first found in China, and since then has been spreading all across Asia and now globally. This new strain has not been previously identified in humans, and coronaviruses typically are zoonotic. So what that means, that they are transmitted between animals and people. It's that cross-contamination. And this outbreak of the Wuhan coronavirus was most likely started in Chinese wet markets. And for those of you who don't know, like what blah, 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 blah. Let me get it together right now. For those of you who don't know what wet markets are, you can Google it so you can get a better idea. I Googled it. So such markets, wet markets, are outdoor stalls. Pretty much outdoor stalls are squeezed together to form narrow lanes where locals and visitors shop for cuts of meat and ripe produce. That right there, like raw meat and ripe produce shouldn't be in close contact to one another. And mind you, this meat is not packaged. It's not like your typical grocery store where you walk into your local Ralph's or Whole Foods or Safeway and the meat is nicely packaged. No. Like this is like meat that's literally out in the open, hanging. It's like in cross-contamination with many, many things. So like vendors are selling caged chickens and they're right next to a butcher counter. You feel me? Or there's like uncooked meat is being chopped where nearby dogs are watching hungrily. And like obviously dogs should not be eating raw meat. And vendors are like hawking skinned hares while seafood stalls display fish and shrimp. So you see there's a lot of cross-contamination happening here. And again, that's like what wet markets are. Wet markets put people and live and dead animals such as like dogs, chickens, pigs, snakes, which again, these are all commonly found in wet markets in China, in close contact. And that makes it very easy for a virus to jump from animal to human. And that's exactly what many experts are saying. This is how most likely how the Wuhan coronavirus started due to these wet markets. And since the outbreak started in December of 2019, Chinese authorities have banned the trade of live animals at wet markets, I believe since January 22nd. So just recently. And I'm going to cut into a really quick break right now. When I come back, we'll talk more on the Wuhan coronavirus.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The GSMC Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. And moving on, we're going to continue talking about Wuhan coronavirus. It almost sounds like, I don't know, like a spell, like Wuhan coronavirus, like something that Harry Potter would say. Anyways, okay, that was like a dad joke that I just made. I know it's a bad one. I apologize. But yeah, let's keep talking about this. Hopefully, I'm informing you guys, giving you more deets about this virus. So like I just mentioned in the previous segment, that the outbreak is most likely due to these wet markets where there's a lot of cross-contamination between people and live and dead animals, which is like absolutely not okay. And if I were to see that anywhere near me, I would flip and definitely not buy my food there. But every country has like their own set of regulations, and I'm glad that Chinese authorities are realizing that this is not safe. It's very high risk for people's health and animals' health. So I'm glad they're, at least changing the rules now. And as of right now, when I checked this morning, 82 deaths have been reported in Beijing due to the Wuhan coronavirus, and as more than 2,700 cases confirmed overall. So globally, over 2,700, I believe almost 2,800 people now have been in contact with this virus, but have been reported 82 deaths. So it's an alarming rate, and it's shooting fast. And nearly 60 million people have been affected by partial or full lockdowns in Chinese cities as the country's government steps up its response. I mean, most of the cases are in Asia, specifically in Wuhan, which is a city in China, and it's spreading like around Hong Kong. I heard it's touched Sri Lanka, Australia, Africa. So it's definitely spreading. So I think we all need to listen up, take some notes. Again, at the very end of today's podcast, I will be sharing some preventative expert tips. So pay close attention, y'all. And here in the U.S., there are more than 50 confirmed, let me rephrase that so I don't get y'all confused. There are more than 50 confirmed cases in 13 places outside of mainland China, as I just mentioned, like Australia, Sri Lanka, etc., including here in the United States. At least 5 so far have been discovered. 5 people have been in contact with this coronavirus, which is scary because, I'm here in the U.S. and I don't want to be in contact with this deadly disease. It's the states in which they have been found in Washington, Chicago, and Southern California. And the person who, it's kind of creepy because, not creepy, but when I was in LA, someone my friend who lives in Orange County told me that someone in Orange County has been in contact, or I believe 2 people in Orange County have been in contact with the Wuhan coronavirus, that these individuals traveled to China, traveled specifically to Wuhan, came back to the U.S., and then, caught the deadly disease, which is really scary. But the person that had been in contact with the Orange County Healthcare Agency, they said that they've been provided guidance in order to reduce exposure to the public while awaiting laboratory confirmation, and that the individual now has been transported to a local hospital and is in isolation in good condition, which is good because it must suck being that person that brings in that deadly disease into your country. It's good that this person is being isolated, but absolutely, hopefully still being treated in good conditions because, it's not their fault they got caught with this. It's, just now breaking and it's spreading globally very fast. So it's definitely scary. It's a little too close, for comfort because I'm based here in California, Northern California, and I was just in Southern California in a very large crowd. Lots of people, lots of contact, people are rubbing up against you. So yeah, it kind of freaked me out a little bit when she told me that, but I'm just going to pray that it doesn't come to NorCal because then I'll really freak out. But yeah, so it's definitely spreading, y'all. Be careful out there. And what's even crazier, this is what really freaked me out a little bit. There are still people under investigation who are getting tested for this deadly disease. So there have just been 2,700 cases, and there's 73 people still pending results. So they're testing all these people, and I believe they said 30 something or 50 something have been tested, and those have been negative, which is great. That's great news. They've been tested negative, but 73 people are pending, and I'm just praying and I'm hoping that those 73 people, none of them get contaminated or get caught with this deadly disease. Doesn't matter if they live in the U.S. or not. In whatever country they're from, I hope that they don't come in contact with this disease because this is just terrible. Having respiratory issues and really severe ones. And in this specific case with the Wuhan coronavirus, it's leading to many deaths. So this is very serious, very scary, very high risk. And not to scare you guys. I feel like I'm sounding like I'm on CNN or something or Fox News because the news always tries to it's very depressing and scary news. And that's definitely what I'm not trying to come across as right now. But I feel like I may to some be coming across in that way a little bit. Definitely not trying to scare anybody, just trying to inform and, again, just take preventative measures to hopefully not, to stop the spreading. And due to all of these, people coming into contact with the Wuhan coronavirus, the U.S. State Department raised its travel advisory for China to level 3, which means reconsider travel due to the Wuhan coronavirus. And the U.S. State Department raised its travel advisory specifically for Wuhan, the city of Wuhan in China, to level 4, which means don't travel. Like, do not even go there. Don't even think about it. Turn around. Cancel that flight. That's what the U.S. is saying. But to the whole country of China, they're saying reconsider. It's not safe. You could be contaminated. But to Wuhan, it's an absolute no. Even Chinese authorities are imposing quarantines and restricting travel throughout the country. So they're not letting anyone in or out, which is good. Like I said, it's like a partial lockdown or even a full lockdown in some areas because obviously Chinese authorities are trying to keep from this disease spreading and trying to just keep it at least within the country or within that city. So, it's almost like we're doing our part. They're doing their part as well. And unfortunately, like doctors and experts are saying that as of right now, there is not yet any clear evidence that people can transmit the Wuhan coronavirus before they begin exhibiting symptoms. So really, you could be contaminated and not even know it. And I feel like that's what happened to those 5 individuals who came back from China. They probably visited maybe in December, maybe sooner, November, came back. Again, this is just like hypothetical speaking. Like this is what could have happened. These individuals probably traveled to China a couple months back and then had just recently in January started experiencing those symptoms of like shortness of breath, fever, coughing, and like pneumonia, all those, and kidney failure, like all those like really severe symptoms. He probably started experiencing those a couple months after traveling to Asia. And that's what experts are saying, is that you don't really get the symptoms right away. You could be contaminated and then later on start exhibiting those symptoms. So it's definitely scary, and just be safe out there, my friends. This is some serious, heavy stuff. And I just really hope that this does not continue to spread because, it's hard because how do you know, like, you're sick, right? Like, the symptoms sound the same as like a common cold. So how can you differentiate between the common cold or if you have this deadly disease? That's pretty scary. And I think that's what doctors and experts are working on right now. They're trying to decipher like what exactly is happening to the chemistry within your body. Are there any other signs that we can detect early on to help prevent, of the spreading of this outbreak of the Wuhan coronavirus? And we're going to go into another break right now. When I come back, we're going to dive into some preventative methods to hopefully not ever come into contact with the Wuhan coronavirus.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. And in this segment, I will be sharing with you guys some expert tips on some preventative measures that some of you may want to take to prevent from ever getting in contact with this coronavirus, the Wuhan coronavirus, especially if you live in Washington, Chicago, California, like myself, specifically Southern California, in which these areas have already been, I guess, some individuals have been contaminated or have came across this virus. And I'm going to first share kind of like just these standard recommendations to prevent this infection from spreading. And this is kind of go with like common colds, which can be hard to differentiate. And that includes like regular hand washing, which we should all be washing our hands, covering your mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing. That is like my pet peeve, when people do not cover their coughs or sneezes. When people cough into their hands and like touch things around them, I immediately get grossed out. Or when people sneeze and don't sneeze into, that part into your or not your elbow, but in between your forearm and your bicep, that crease, that's where you need to be sneezing, y'all. Like that should be, didn't they teach you that in kindergarten? I remember learning that in kindergarten. And it drives me nuts when people just cough or sneeze into their hands or just like into the air. Like that's my number one pet peeve, and that will immediately make me angry. And I will tell you. So again, don't sneeze or cough on people. Thoroughly cook your meat and eggs, all of that good stuff. And this is all, just trying to avoid coming in contact with this respiratory illness. And now I'm going to really share the expert tips. Those are just like the standard recommendations that you should be doing anyway, like wash your hands, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to get more into like the expert stuff, and I did some research, like what are they saying doctors recommending the public to do? And some of these, in my opinion, may be like kind of extreme. But if you're someone who's like really scared to coming in contact, or maybe the individual in your state who came into contact with this virus, then you may want to take these preventative measures. So number one, when you leave your home, wear gloves if you are going to wear gloves, like winter mittens or outdoor gloves, and keep them on in subways, buses, and public spaces. This one is actually a good idea because, all of those public areas, especially public transportation, is like absolutely disgusting. And airports too. Like I want to include that too. Airports, especially because I was just in an airport this weekend. They are one of the most contaminated and germiest. I don't even know if germiest is a word, but you guys know, like airports are really gross, lots of germs everywhere, inside the planes, inside airports. So definitely like wipe your seats, get like those mini Clorox wipes. They sell them at, Target, Walmart, any drugstore. Wipe down everything if you're traveling, like the tray, the handles, the seats, everything. I think that's really smart. I don't think that's extra. But also like subways, buses, even Uber rides, like anything, just like wear gloves. I think that's a great preventative measure that many of us can take and should take. If you are this is the next one. If you are, let's say, in a social situation where you should remove your gloves, perhaps obviously like to shake hands, or like to dine, do not touch your face or eyes, no matter how much something itches, which I know that's like super annoying. Keep your hands away from contact with your face. Especially if you're like touching things, like if you're at your desk, you're typing on the keyboard, like grabbing things, touching the phone, like those are all filled with germs. And then if you're touching your face, not good for your skin. And also, it's just all preventative measures. So before you touch your face, obviously put those gloves back on or wash your hands thoroughly with soap and warm water, scrubbing your fingers, y'all. And I don't want just like a quick rinse, like really get in between your fingers, your fingernails, everything. Take your time. And then, you can put your gloves back on. And then like for inside your household, remove all of the towels from your bathrooms and kitchen immediately and replace them with clean towels that have the names. I mean, this you can like write like the names of each family member on them, not on the towel obviously, but like on the tag of the towel. So it's like a dedicated towel for each person. And instruct everybody in your home to only use their own towels and never touch another family member's. Wash all towels twice a week. Damp towels provide homes like for viruses like common colds, flus, and yes, coronaviruses. So that one I didn't think about the towels that you have in your home, and that doesn't include just like the shower towels you use, but also kitchen towels in the bathroom. So regularly change those, regularly wash those. And again, if you want to go the extra mile, even label those towels and, kind of designate who is for who. Next, let's talk doorknobs. Be careful with doorknobs, y'all. Those are so everything. I know. I feel like I sound like a germaphobe right now, but everything's just filled with germs. Just gotta take these preventative measures. And if it's possible to open and close doors using your elbows or shoulders, do so. Like, try to avoid using your hands. I know obviously if it's like a door with a knob, you obviously have to open it with a doorknob, but like if it's a door that can swing open, many restaurants have these types of doors because servers, they need their hands to carry trays, carry plates, so they tend to use like their hip or elbow, which that is a preventative measure for the coronavirus. Or you could, if you need to use your hands to open a door, wear gloves to turn a doorknob or wash your hands after touching it. If anybody in your home, is sick, wash your doorknobs regularly, disinfect them. Similarly, be cautious with stairway banisters, desktops, cell phones, toys, laptops, any objects that are handheld, pretty much, phones included. As long as you handle only your own personal objects, you'll be okay. But if you need to pick up someone else's cell phone or cooking tools or use someone else's computer board, be mindful of not touching your face and wash your hands immediately after touching the object. That was me this morning at work, at the gym that I work at. Gym is another one. Oh my goodness. That place, people sweat on machines, and it's so important to like sanitize and disinfect the bathrooms. It's so important. Like, I work at a gym. I know how disgusting they can be, and we really need to take care of that facility if you do work in a gym. It's just like a lot of bodily fluids come into contact, like people sweat on benches and then like have sweaty hands and are touching equipment. So super important to just disinfect and keep the facility clean. And if you're like in my gym, we hand out towels and we need to do laundry there. And I'm there, getting buckets of towels outside, putting them in the dryer, and I immediately like wash my hands and I put hand sanitizer because I'm literally, it sounds so grimy, but I'm grabbing chunks of towels in which people have wiped their sweaty bodies on, have wiped their naked bodies because we have showers at our gym and they throw it in the bin, so I have to get them. And then like, it's just, I'm coming into contact. Honestly, it sounds gross. And like, the more I talk about it right now, I'm getting grossed out right now. But I am a germaphobe and I need to wash my hands like 100 times a day while I'm at the gym. Again, because people are just like sweaty and there's a lot of like, you get my drift here. So just take all of these preventative measures. Just wash your hands. I'm also at a keyboard at work when I check people in at the front desk. So we have a huge bottle of hand sanitizer there. So it's pretty much like, how you would take care of, all the preventative measures you do for a common cold. Similarly, you would do for coronavirus, but maybe a little extra. And here's another good tip. If you share meals, do not use your personal chopsticks and utensils to remove food from a serving bowl or a plate. And of course, like if you have kids, never tell your children to never drink out of anybody else's cups or from a container of like shared fluid, And like, I know like in a lot of like Asian countries such as China, it's customary to prepare your dishes, several dishes for a meal, like in huge pots, and then allow everybody at the table to use like personal chopsticks or utensils to pull food from the common dishes. This is also very apparent in like Korean hot pot restaurants here in the U.S., like not even in China, like even here in the U.S. That is, again, not the best. If you really want to prevent this virus, do not use your personal chopsticks or utensils. Say there's a bowl of rice in the center. You don't want to use your personal utensil and like scoop rice back and forth because everybody is doing the same thing, and that's cross-contamination right there. So supply like a big spoon or something, a big utensil in which everybody shares. Like that same one, like that specific tool is used for that specific pot. Don't use your personal one in which you are putting those chopsticks or you're putting that fork into your mouth and then you're putting it into that shared bowl. You get what I'm saying? So that's a no-no. And just don't do this because then, again, this is how things and viruses and other illnesses spread. So place several spoons in each dish and instruct everybody at the table to scoop what they want from the serving dishes onto their personal plates or bowls and return the serving spoon to the main dish, and then again use their personal chopsticks, utensils, whatever, only to pick food from their personal plate or bowl into their mouth. And another tip, wash all food and kitchenware thoroughly between meals and avoid restaurants that have poor hygiene practices. This is why Yelp is amazing. Yelp, whoever invented Yelp, thank you to the CEO of Yelp, because Yelp reviews have really deterred me from restaurants I have wanted to try. I read the reviews and I'm like, oh my goodness, these people have said like the food sucks, or they've seen this, or they've seen hair, or they've seen worms. So I am like all on those Yelp reviews. This is why I have never tried PF Chang's and I will never eat at that restaurant, because I've heard from many people, many reviews, read many reviews that many individuals have gotten food poisoning from that restaurant. And I don't ever want to experience food poisoning. Knock on wood. I pray I don't, because I've heard that experience is terrible and I just don't want to go through that. So yeah, very important. Read reviews, like really do your research on restaurants and make sure they are practicing, good hygienic practices. So very important. And this one was very interesting for me to find out. One of these experts say and believe that masks are useless when worn outdoors and may not even be helpful even indoors. That most masks deteriorate after one or two wearings. And most people who wear these masks are like using them repetitively throughout the week. Using the same mask day after day after day is worse than useless, this one expert says. It's disgusting, he says, as the contents of your mouth and nose eventually coat the inside of the mask with a smelly veneer that is attractive to bacteria, which makes sense. Like, you're wearing a mask, it's covering your nose, it's covering your mouth. Even when you're talking, you're a little bit spitting, right? And then you're inhaling, and it's just like that continuous cycle. You're talking, you're spitting, but you're inhaling what you're spitting. So that's really disgusting. So this makes sense. And he was saying like mask could be useless because you're just like all that bacteria is in your face. And that was really surprising because we all would think like, oh, masks, they protect you from like the outdoors, but he's saying like, no, they actually can make things worse. So I hope these tips helped you. Again, these are expert tips to help protect yourself and stay safe from this deadly virus. I'll quickly review them again. So just, cover your coughs and sneezes, thoroughly cook your meat and eggs, remove your towels from bathrooms and kitchens, replace them, wash them twice a week, be careful of doorknobs, wear gloves on, public spaces, public transportation, airports. From what I got from this, it's like saying just avoid all people, like just isolate yourself pretty much. I mean, if you really want to go that extreme to prevent yourself, I mean, by all means do it. Your health is wealth. Health is the number one priority. It should be the number one priority for everybody's life. We got one body and we got to take care of it. And you guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode for GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. If you liked what I had to say today, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. And I wish you guys all a happy and a healthy new week.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.